Okay, welcome to this week's episode of Pep Talk, Productive Environment Podcast. Before you save it, whatever it is, I want you to answer 7 questions before you decide where and how you're going to save information. So before you save it, what is it? It could be emails, it could be paper, it could be PDF documents, it could be pictures, it could be anything. So before you save it, there are some questions that we want you to ask yourself to be sure that it's worth saving. Okay? So you might want to take a few notes on this if you like. If you're new to us, please go ahead and click the subscribe button and subscribe to our channel. And before I dive in, Eds, if you'll go ahead and post up, we have a workshop coming up real soon, a live workshop. So if you're popping on here and maybe you're here for the first time and you want to check us out live and meet with us together, check out workshop.productiveenvironment.com. I'll tell you a little bit more about it later in the broadcast. But today I am going to be talking to you about 7 questions that you can ask yourself about information, whether to save it at all, and so forth. So if you saw last week, this is actually this is a follow-up to our last week's session. So let me come up and just talk to you guys. Okay. So last week on Pep Talk, we explored the risks of keeping too much information. Okay. There are risks that you encounter by keeping too much information. So today we're going to focus on a little different challenge. It's related, but it's a little different angle. So how do you decide what information deserves to be kept at all, right? And Barbara Hemphill's quote is, clutter is postponed decisions. So if you're not deciding at all, then that means paper and email and digital files and probably photographs on your phone are piling up. Okay, so if you're not making decisions at all, everything's kind of piling up, maybe stressing you out a bit. But when you're ready to face it and make some decisions, we want to figure out what actually even deserves. I say this often, like what is worthy? Is it worthy of you keeping it in your space? When I say worthy, because anything that you keep is going to cost you something. It's going to cost you time, space, money, or energy, at the very least. So as you know, every day information enters our lives, right? You know this. Mail arrives, emails land in our inboxes, notes get written, photos are taken, documents are downloaded, reports are created, and now AI generates content in seconds. So some of that information has value, some does not. So the challenge isn't storing information. Storage has never been easier. We can talk about that. Storing information has never been easier. But the challenge is deciding what deserves your attention and making sure that you can find it when you need it. That is the key, guys, right? So for years, Barbara Hemphill taught 6 questions to help make those decisions, mostly to companies. We call these at the time, we called them the 6 information management questions. And these were taught to companies because there were multiple roles within a company. Now it's the 7 questions, but it's also geared towards you as an individual, not just within a company. Okay. So whether you're managing family records, you're running a business, preparing for retirement, perhaps, or you're caring for aging parents, or juggling all of the above. Who's all of the above? Put in the chat, put in the comments if you're all of the above, then these questions can help. So first, I am Andrea Anderson. I am the CEO of Productive Environment Institute, and I am in Carolina Beach, North Carolina. So today I'm going to walk you through those 7 questions that you want to ask yourself about information. We're going to do a little bit deeper dive next week, but these are the 7 main questions we're going to ask before you decide to save it or keep it or file it or whatever word you want to use there. Okay. So question number 1, is, do I really need to keep this? Do I really even need to keep this? And I'm hearing from Miss Kathy. Hold on one second, Eds. I'll go back to that. Kathy is one of our certified product environment specialists, and she said definitely all of the above. So she's a professional. She's taking care. I mean, she's got a aging parent. She fits all of them. So Kathy, thank you for chiming in. And Barb Tooker says, hate to confess. Yes. So Barb, you're in the same boat. And I think many of you probably are. So, chime in like Kathy and Barb did. And so the very first question you want to ask yourself is, do I really even need to keep this at all? Okay. So everything starts here. All right. So let's walk through this together. Everything starts here. A tax document. Do I need to keep it? A meeting note, a client file, a medical record. You guys, is this resonating? Do you guys have any of these files? Any of these things? A photograph, a receipt, an article that you planned or plan to read. Before deciding where it belongs, ask whether it belongs at all. Okay? So before deciding where, instead of asking yourself, where should I file this? Our question to that, our next question to that is, where will I find this? How will I find this? But should you even keep it at all? That is a really important question. And Sandy says, tons of all. That's right, Sandy. That is right. So you guys are resonating. All right. So really, the first question is, do I even need to keep it at all? Now, you may not know if you should keep it at all. And we're going to go into that deeper on the next pep talk, how to decide if you should even keep it at all. But for now, let's just say you decide that I really do want to keep it. So the next question, number 2, is, if you've decided to keep it, then in what format? Number 2, if so, meaning if you decide to keep it, then in what format should you keep it? Okay. So what does that mean? Once you've decided that something has value, consider the best format for keeping it. Examples: paper tax records. The format is the physical paper. What if your accountant also sent you a digital file? Do you need to keep both? Maybe you don't need to, but maybe you want to. Want is okay. So if you decide that you want to have it in both formats, that's okay too. Okay. Receipts. Do you need to keep the physical receipt, or are digital receipts okay? Now you can ask your tax professional about what they recommend. Or you can just decide, I just want to have a folder on my, next to my, or in my filing cabinet for physical receipts, and I just pop them in there. Or you can have a folder within your email or your computer where you keep your digital receipts. So basically making a decision on what format they need to be kept in. You don't necessarily need to keep everything in both physical and digital. It's worth walking through that and making a decision about how you want to keep it. Family photographs. I mean, how many of you have boxes of real physical photographs? Okay. And then how many have a zillion pictures on your phone? And how many have you a zillion more pictures on your computer? So making a decision of where you're going to keep those. And so, again, storage is no longer the problem. I even recently found that if those of you that have Amazon Prime, that they're allowing you to have, you can store they want you to store all your photos with them. Because if you do that, then that means you're going to renew Prime every year because all your photos are stored with them, right? So there's lots of different places and ways to store your photos. I actually am currently debating on what to do. I've got 3 or 4 physical photo albums from high school and college. And I like periodically taking them out and looking at them and sharing. If I have a friend in town, we'll pull them out together and we look at them. Yearbooks are the same way. And I'm just like, since I moved to a much smaller place than I had been before, space is at a premium. Like, do I really want to keep these big do I pull them out enough and share them with people enough that it's worth keeping them? Or do I just simply take my phone and snap pictures of the pictures and create a digital album? I haven't decided yet. So y'all weigh in. Let me know what you think I should do. But I have the option. I could keep them both. I don't know that I would really want to or need to. So again, there's so many photo organizing tools out there as well. And Sandy feels my pain. Lots of photos, both places. Exactly. Now I have to tell y'all, I think that's a good point to tell you something that my mom and her siblings are doing. Mom, let me pull you on screen for a second. I won't make you talk, but I've got you. So mom and her siblings, there's 5 of them total. And tell me, just shake your head if I got this right, Mom. In 2020, during COVID, you guys started meeting on Zoom every week. And now you're meeting about every other week, approximately, depending on your siblings' travels and stuff. And there's 4 sisters and a brother. And the brother, who's my uncle, he is the keeper of all these photos. So he had all of these massive amounts of photos that they had gotten from my grandparents, their parents, from each other. And everybody just sent photos to him. And he has spent, I don't know how much time that takes, but digitizing these photos. Well, they didn't just digitize them and then leave them and say, oh, here's a link, go check them out, which, you might look at them one time. But they meet every week and in order, review the photos in order of year. So I think, Mom, what was the first year? It's like the 1800s or something was one of the first years, right? All right, I'm going to take you off so you can relax. So they started in the 1800s with family photos, and they have been meeting for the last 6 years now. And they would come up to different family events like weddings, graduations, babies, vacations. And so each week they're at a different place in the timeline, and they get together and they discuss. So they have a very intentional way to go through these photos, which I think is really, really neat. So whatever you decide to do with your photos, whether you keep them physical or digital, is up to you, but making a decision about that and trying to be intentional. Signed legal documents. Do those need to be in physical form, or is digital okay? Client agreements, medical information. Sometimes, it's easy for me to say, oh, just digitize everything, scan it, or put it in your, file it from email and just save it on your computer. But sometimes it's helpful to just grab a physical file and walk out the door with it to go to a meeting, right? So maybe you do want the physical. I don't know. That's going to be up to you. Sometimes paper makes sense. Sometimes digital makes sense. And sometimes both are necessary. Okay, that's up to you. The goal is not to keep the information in every format available, but the goal is to keep it in a format that makes it easiest to use. And regardless if it's physical or digital, you want to be able to find it when you need it. Okay, so that's what we're all about. And as far as I can tell, we are the only company that actually addresses both the physical and the digital. We have a software tool that we created called the SOAR board. SOAR means systemize and organize, with action and reference. So we deal with actions, things that you need to do, as well as reference, things that you need to keep. Now, there's lots of tools out there that deal with your to-do list. There's lots of tools that deal with your, for you just to save information, document management, document storage, all kinds of tools like that. We are the only tool that I know of that also helps you find not just your digital information, but also your physical information, where you can search something in the SOAR board and it will tell you exactly where it is, not on your computer, it can do your computer too, not just on your computer, but in your physical filing cabinet. So as easy as it is to Google something and find something online, you can find information that you have saved in your physical filing cabinet. So our tool we created it based on Barbara Hemphill's 48 years this month of her methodology of organizing paper. And now, of course, digital. So her quote for years and years has been, "Clutter is postponed decisions," still stands true today. So she said that back, years ago, and it was all related to paper. And now with the digital world coming through, it's still very valid. Okay. So those were the first two questions. Number 3, for how long? So Ed, if you'll put the first two back up, let's do a review. Question number 1 is, do I really need to keep this? Okay, at all, period. Number 2, if so, in what format? And number 3, for how long? Because just because you might decide to keep it today doesn't mean that you keep it indefinitely, okay? So every piece of paper, every piece of information, I should say, every piece of information has a life cycle. Okay, so examples might be temporary project notes. You might have notes that you took for a specific project, and then that project ends. Do you need to keep the notes? Do you want to keep the notes? How will they help you? Those are decisions to make. Tax records. Okay, so there are certain timelines for how long you're required to keep information for the government, but then you might also want to add an extra year for your own comfort. That's up to you. Home improvement receipts. Okay, so if you've done some home improvements, do you need to keep those? Some of our clients have been in the same house for 40, 50 years. Do you need to keep the receipt from the repair that you had back in 30, 40 years ago on your home? I don't know. Maybe you do. Maybe you want to have a folder that has every record of every receipt that was done, for your home improvement. That's up to you again, but be intentional about that decision. Okay. Insurance documents. If you've got insurance documents on a vehicle that you no longer have, maybe it's time to let those go. Do you need those anymore? Probably not. So in business, employee records, if you're a business owner, are you keeping employee records? Now, Kathy was an HR director, so she might chime in. Do they need, Kathy, once they've left the company, maybe they've retired, or the employee is no longer there, do they need to keep those employee records? Feel free to chime in. Family history documents. Now that I could see keeping, right? Family history documents. Again, my family does a lot with family history. They have the whole family tree. Oh my goodness, they have the whole family tree like mapped out, taped together. I don't know if they've done anything with the electronic versions of that or not, but I've seen the physical version of our family tree. It's very interesting. So basically what I'm trying to say is that some information is needed for days, some for years, and some permanently. Okay, so let's take a look at Kathy's response. She said, there are some guidelines for maintaining records of employees who have left the company. Okay, so if you're a business owner or you're in a company, check with your company, your company's retention, records retention rules or guidelines, as you can say. So to see if if you're working with a business or in a business, then check with your company. The other thing you could do is ask ChatGPT. Now it's not going to always be right, or not just ChatGPT, but Claude, any AI. Just, hey, how long do I need to keep this? Is it required for me to keep? I live in North Carolina. How long am I required to keep my XYZ? And see if you can get some ideas there. It's so easy now to look that up and just ask. But making a retention decision today prevents unnecessary clutter tomorrow. So maybe you decide to keep some things and you say, I'm going to keep these, whatever they are, for 3 years. Then you can mark something, we could do it on our scoreboard. You can do it in your calendar. Somehow trigger yourself to review a specific file, in a certain amount of time. So, okay, I'm going to keep these for 3 years. I just feel better doing that. So, but trigger yourself that 3 years from now, you're going to take a look and make another decision. You may decide to continue keeping them, or you may say, okay, it's 3 years have gone by. I've never had to access this folder. I'm just going to let it go. And that'll start paring down your reference system, your files, your physical files. Okay. Same with your digital files as well. So making a retention decision today prevents unnecessary clutter tomorrow. All right. Question number 4 of 7. Who is responsible for it? Now, when we were working with companies, we still do work with companies as well. So when we're working with a company, we would say, who is responsible for filing it? That was kind of that was the language. Who was responsible for filing it? Because you may have 10 people in an office and everybody's keeping the same thing. Like, who is the one person that is actually responsible for it? Give the other 9 permission to delete it or shred it if one person is responsible. Okay. Now, this could be you, it applies to you as a solo professional, whether you're part of a family. Do you and all your siblings and your spouse and kids, does everybody need to keep it? So it applies across the board. Or if you're running a business or a family, who owns the information? Okay. Who's responsible for maintaining it? Who updates it? Now, in this case, I gave you the example of my mom and her siblings. My uncle he owns the information. He is responsible for maintaining it. He updates it. So if mom and any of her siblings want to say, oh, I'd love to see those pictures from, 1982. I'd love to see Andrea's graduation in 1988. That everybody knows they can go to Uncle Lo and say, hey, can you pull this up? He has that. Mom doesn't need to keep it. Her other siblings don't need to keep it. He has it. Okay. So who decides when it is no longer needed? So this is back to information. If you are your own boss, then you decide. You decide when something is no longer needed and you let it go. If there's somebody else you need to check with and say, hey, how long should we keep this? Is it okay if I destroy this, toss this, shred this? Then you can do that. So when responsibility is unclear, information tends to pile up. Okay, so get clear. Are you the one that makes that decision, or is there someone else in your family or in your business that decides, how long something is kept and what form it's kept? Like, who's responsible for it? All right, question number 5. Who needs access to it? Okay, this is really important, especially as we're taking care of, you're in that, what do we call it? The sandwich generation, where you've got aging parents and then you've got adult children. Who needs access to this information? So think that through. Examples are, of course, a spouse, adult children, a business partner, a team member, an accountant, an attorney, an executor, right? So if someone needed this information tomorrow, could they find it? Answer that in the comments. If somebody needed, let's just say, just critical information about you, your banking, your health, if somebody needed access to that tomorrow, who would be able to find it? Who are you going to give access to, and how can they find it? Okay, so that's something, you need to know, first of all, who needs access. That's number 5. Sorry. Number 6 is how will they find it? But who needs access to it? So think that through. Okay. Organizing isn't just about convenience. It's about continuity. Okay. So think that through. Okay. All right. So Sandy says, most of it is in my scoreboard now. The people finding it? ? So in that case, Sandy, you can share your scoreboard access information to a specific family member, somebody that you trust. If you don't want to share everything with them, there are other options. There are other ways to share just specific information, and we can talk about that in SOAR. But yeah, if you have somebody that you trust, that would need to be able to access that information, you can share your login with them, your PIN, and show them. All you got to do is show them how to use the search. Just say, go up here and click search and search what you're looking for. Okay. And then they will be able to find what you leave, the breadcrumbs that you leave behind for them. Okay. Number 6, that's the question. How will I find it? Okay. So how will I find it, or we, how will I or we find it? Whoever you're giving access to. So this is where most organizing systems succeed or fail. You may have heard Barbara's principle that if you don't know you have it, or you can't find it, it is of no value to you. Okay. If you don't know you have it, or you can't find it, it is of no value to you. So a file isn't organized because it's stored. It's organized because it's retrievable. And let me show Sandy. She said, I have told my younger son, just need to have him practice. That's right. You can have practice. You can have drills. You can say, okay, let's have a drill. And I'm not going to say that, okay, if something horrible happens to Sandy, then, this is what you need to do. Let's say Sandy goes on a wonderful world excursion for 6 months, and her son needs to access the information. But of course, we know what happens. We know life happens to all of us, right? So whether it's a good absence or a negative absence, somebody needs to know where to find that information and how to access it. So yes, have him practice, Sandy. Do some practice runs. So if he comes over and says, you're like, okay, let's do a run. What do you do if you get a call that I jumped on a cruise ship and I won't be back for 6 months? What are you going to do? Where are you going to find the information? Okay. So ask yourself, when I need this 6 months from now, where will I look first? So ask yourself that. And whatever the answer is, that's where it belongs. And then that's where the store board comes. You can store it wherever you want, but put your breadcrumbs in the store board. Tell yourself in your store board, tell your future self, this is where it is. So you could even have something, it doesn't have to be a file, physical file or a digital file. You could have a crock pot that you never use, but you keep it because just in case one day you might use it. Okay, I'm using that example because that's me. I have a crock pot that I never, ever use, but I don't want to let it go because what if I do want to use it? So I found a place for it that's out of the way. It's not costing me, much space at all, but I put in my store board crock pot, and I put the location of the crock pot. So if it's for you, maybe it's the top cabinet in your kitchen, or it's the hall closet, bottom shelf. You put exactly right. You type into your store board exactly where it is. You create yourself an index. So there you go. Maybe I should get rid of it. I don't know. Right now, the cost factor. There is something we call the cost factor. It helps you decide whether to keep something or not. You can keep anything that you want as long as you're willing to pay the price. And the price is in time, space, money, and energy. That crock pot isn't costing me any of those things right now. I mean, yeah, you could say it's costing me space, but I have space for it and I'm okay with it. So I am willing to pay the price to keep that crock pot just in case I do decide one day to use it. I will report back to you guys if I ever get rid of it. But as of now, it has a home. But even more importantly, I know how to find it. All I got to do is go to my store board and type in CROCK, and it'll tell me exactly where it is. That's the beautiful part. Okay. Question number 7. This is what we added. Like I said, Barbara had been teaching the 6 information management questions to companies for years when it was mostly about paper. So what do you think question number 7 is that we added years later? I think we added it about 20 years ago. So about halfway through, a little bit less than halfway through Barbara's career, we added number 7, which is how is it backed up? Okay, that didn't really apply with the paper back in the day, but it certainly applies now. So, think about computers. It's not a matter of if they'll crash, it's a matter of when. We know that. Phones, cloud storage, family photos, business files, password managers, financial records. Okay. If a device failed tomorrow, think about this too. Think about this. If one of your devices failed tomorrow, would the information still exist? Okay. Many people have storage. Far fewer people have true backup. Okay. So if you're keeping everything, all your digital information just on your computer and you're not backing it up and then your computer dies, what do? I mean, that information may be gone forever. Now, could people get it back? Yeah, it may cost you some money to bring in an expert or drop your computer off somewhere and say, can you retrieve this information? But, let's just say that they can't. So what are you doing to back that information up? So, again, we have cloud storage now. I mean, a lot of people use Google Drive. We have Dropbox. As I was saying, even Amazon Prime now is allowing you to upload your pictures there and store them there. So whatever the answer is, or maybe you don't trust the cloud at all. Okay. You don't trust online at all, but you buy a backup hard drive that hooks up to your computer and you can back up your information from your computer to that. So we want to just make sure you think about that so that if something does happen and your computer crashes and you can't access that, will you be able to get that information back? Okay. Maybe you lose your phone or all those thousands of pictures on your phone. Are they in the cloud? Are they being backed up somewhere? Or if you lose your phone, you've lost everything. I think it's easier nowadays. The phone companies, the cell companies are helping with, back with the backups, all of your contacts and everything. But you should know the answer to those questions. And Sandy, carbonite has saved me twice. Yeah, I have heard of carbonite, Sandy, and I don't think I ever used it. If I did, it was a short time back in the day. So I'm happy to hear that. Carbonite. So guys, check out Carbonite. It's probably carbonite.com. Saved you twice. So your computer crashed then and you were using Carbonite. I do remember it being a really good backup system. So yeah, that is great. So if you're using cloud storage, then you might think you're okay. But do you have everything on your computer backed up to the cloud? So think through that. Make sure you know the answer to that question. Okay. So Sandy says hard drive died twice, then almost all recovered. Oh, that's good. So that carbonite was a good investment for you then. That's great. I might have to revisit that. I'm going to revisit carbonite. Okay. Fabulous. So that was number 7. Eds, if you'll put them up on the screen one at a time, just as a review, in case anybody was joining us a little bit late. So number 1 is, do I really need to keep this? Okay. Number 2, if so, in what format? Number 3, for how long? Number 4, who is responsible for it? Number 5, who needs access to it? Number 6, how will I or we find it? And number 7, how is it backed up? Okay, so those are the 7 questions that you want to ask yourself about whether, what information to keep, in what form, for how long. Okay, you guys can go through the list. We'll put that in the description as well. So the purpose of these questions is not to create more work for you. The purpose is to help you make better decisions. It all comes back to clutter is postponed decisions. So before you decide to save it, keep it, file it, whatever then you want to ask yourself those 7 questions. Okay, and that applies to every stack of paper, every folder, every inbox you have, every filing cabinet, every cloud drive. They all represent a series of decisions. Okay. So these 7 questions help ensure that those decisions are intentional. Okay. How do you, but then that comes the question. If you get started and you say, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to ask these questions. And you get to the first question and you're stumped. The first question is, put the first question back up, Eds, if you would. The first question is, do I really need to keep this at all? I like adding at all. Do I really need to keep this at all? Okay. What if you got stumped on that question and you weren't able to even move forward? Okay. So that's what we're talking about next week. Basically, that's how do you decide what's okay to let go of. Okay. And we're going to tackle that question. We call it the art of waste basketry. Okay. When you're trying to let go of things, you're not sure if you should keep it, need to keep it, want to keep it. There are another series of questions that can help you answer the number one question in this talk. Okay. So that's where organizing becomes less about the stuff and more about decision making and being intentional about it. Now, I covered a lot. We talked about every week. We talk about paper, email, digital, photos. We talk about all those things. And that can feel overwhelming. It's like, oh, I don't even know where to start. Well, let us help you. There is a way that we can help you get started and take some of that overwhelm away. Number one, let's get your productive environment score. Okay, so Barbara says, and I think she quoted, is it Mark Twain that said progress starts with the truth? Somebody said progress starts with the truth, and Barbara quotes it all the time. So let's get the truth. What is your productive environment score? So go to productiveenvironmentscore.com. It takes you just a couple of minutes to fill out this survey, this form, and then we'll have a conversation. You'll get some emails like telling you, okay, if you scored this, here's what we need to do first, and so forth. And then we also have an upcoming workshop that we would love for you to join us for. Again, workshop.productiveenvironment.com. Go check that out. We have a live workshop coming up. And let me share Barb's comment here. She said, thanks for the encouragement. Love Soarboard and learn new ways to use it every day. Isn't it fun, Barb? I love it. I love it too. And I'm really happy to hear your feedback on that. It is fun when I think of something, even just something to add to my shopping list, I'm excited that I can put it in my Soarboard. So then when it's time for me to do my shopping, I have, the thing that just came to my mind, randomly, it's in there. It's saved in there. It's in there ready for me to order it or use it. And so, yeah, the Soarboard is pretty amazing. Oh, and I'm glad you said that, Barb, because in the workshop, you will get your own Soarboard. You actually get your own Soarboard before the workshop. So workshop.productiveenvironment.com. I'm not going to say the date on here because depending on when you're watching this video, we might have a different date. So go check out workshop.productiveenvironment.com and you will get your own Soarboard as part of that workshop, which is exciting. Really, really cool. And Anne says, great discussion. Thanks, Andrea. Awesome. Thank you so much, Anne. I appreciate that. And last but not least, Barbara and I have, or I think, no, this one is just me. I have a short free training, you guys. So if you're brand new to us, you can go to lesscluttermorelife.com and you just watch it's like a 12-minute video training that kind of gives you a little glimpse of what we're about, what we teach, and how you can start getting a handle on your information, your paper clutter, email clutter, digital clutter, etc. So you can go to lesscluttermorelife.com. Okay. So thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Pep Talk Productive Environment Podcast, and we will see you on the next one. Don't forget, next week, practice the art of waste basketry. So join in so you can see what that's all about, which will bring this three-part series to a close. See you guys then. Thanks so much. Bye.